Our next speaker has some crazy stories to tell. If you've been at DefCamp before, you've certainly seen him, and you know exactly what I mean. He's also very practical, so I'm really looking forward to this next presentation by Gabriel Kerlig, Senior Software Engineer, Application and Threat Intelligence at Ixia, a Quayside business. He's here to talk about AutoHotKey malware. Let's give him a super warm welcome.
Check, check. Hello, guys and girls. Um, let's see the audience we're dealing with. So, who played the game in the last week on his computer or whatever? All right? Last month? Last year? Okay. Who knows what Steam is? Nice, nice. Yeah. So now that I got to know you, for the guys who don't know me, people call me the public transportation hacker for various reasons. I managed to hack the public transportation system in Romania about 3 years ago or something like that, by basically just doing a simple MeFair hack. But yeah, that's a really long story. In the meantime, they fixed the bug, so I decided to hack my car as well. Managed to put some kind of backdoor on my car. It got a really nice coverage from a lot of publications and tried to raise awareness together with my colleague Stefan Tănase, who's here in the audience. We did a solid job with it. But I'm fairly new to the field, so I'm gonna do a bit of shameless self-promotion. Follow me on Twitter. I still haven't settled on a certain field of activity, so I still try to publish whatever hacks and blog talks I put on the internet. So if you want to just have fun and see some game-related information as well, follow me on Twitter and see you there. But let's get to the story. Who knows what AutoIT is, or AutoIT? Okay, so AutoIT was basically a tool, a macro writing tool, popular a few years ago, and it's still popular for malware developers. It basically enables you to write short macros that will help you automate various tasks on your systems. And someone thought about, hey, I should write something like that, but for gamers, not for system admins. And they came up with this. You can remap keybinds. You can make it run various programs on a Windows machine. You can change the text that's being typed, so you can expand acronyms and stuff like that. But over the years, it's gathered more and more and more attention, and people have demanded for more and more and more features, and it turned into this. So it even has GUI support. It even has tools for writing GUI for it. It's a full-blown programming language. It's no longer a simple macro writing tool. It's a full-blown programming language that you can use recently to write hacks for your games. Who plays Counter-Strike? Who knows what that is? All right, yeah. So we all know, we all hate cheaters, right? They are the worst. The joke's on them, however, because this scripting language also gathered the attention recently of a lot of shady guys that started writing malware for AutoHotKey in AutoHotKey. So you'll download a simple wall hack, and you might as well discover that you also have a backdoor on your system. Because, yeah, why not? So I really enjoy just looking at lists of files on the internet and just exploring various SHAs and disassembling malware. And what really struck me while I was using this little neat tool called Reversing Labs, once I wrote a Yara for finding AutoHotKey malware, the list went up really fast. I mean, really fast. And I was thinking, why would that happen? Why would malware authors move from AutoIT, which is already being used by all of the script kiddies around there, to AutoHotKey? Well, it's got a really low detection rate, really, really low detection rate, at least about a few months ago. Recently, however, things have changed for the better, fortunately, but uh, the malware has advanced as well. So it's kind of an arms race between the good guys and the bad guys. Um, Fortunately, there are tools for unpacking malware like that. This is an AutoHotKey unpacker written in AutoHotKey as well. So this kind of proves the extent to which the language has evolved. You can do all kinds of crazy patching, memory inspection, crazy stuff. We're going to get into that later. But if you don't have something like reversing labs to unpack your malware, you can do it with open source tools as well. It's really easy to do that. And while going around and exploring various malware samples, I found some really interesting snippets of code, and we'll see how they assemble together in a few slides. Looks like you can copy files from one point to the other. It even has some placeholder variable names that you can use to find the folder for your startup directory and your temporary directory, your documents, whatever. And it gets even more complicated. You can issue background commands. So this is like just, you'd open a CMD prompt and type netview, and it would output all of the content into that file. And even worse, it supports DLL injection, reflective DLL calls, sorry. Because why not? Why not have really complicated and complex mechanism inside a really simple scripting language? Because the community asked for it. There are a lot of game devs that wanted tools to automate their development and their debugging, so they asked for more and more and more features. And AutoHotKey became a really bloated blob that up until recently was whitelisted by most antivirus vendors. And this is a bit worrisome because you can encode, do the base64 encoding that was pulled from the internet. All of the script kiddies know how to do it. It's not really complicated. And after you base60 code all of your payload that you want to exfiltrate from your computer, you can just do an NS lookup to a malicious DNS server that you control, and you put the data in there. And bam, all of the data lives as an NS lookup, and nobody will even notice that. And putting that together, I found this complex malware that it logs your key input, it spreads on your computer to all of the USB sticks that you insert in it, it spreads to your network, and then it uploads all of the payload to a malicious web server. So let's see how it does that. First, we have the keyboard logger. I don't even know how to code AutoHotKey. It's so easy to do it. I mean, it just gets the mouse position, yeah, it just puts it in a file, and then it basically tries to see if the current window contains Facebook, Google account, sign in, login, PayPal. Yeah, fun. And then it appends the data that you typed to a file that later will be exfiltrated. We'll see how. It then spreads to your hard drives, to any USB sticks that you input. It then spreads to your network as well. And all of this is being done using tools already present on the system. This is called living off the land. It was actually the title for my blog post about this whole malware. You can find more there if you look it up on the internet. And this is where the exfiltration takes place. It has a malicious domain, it does a post request, and it uploads the file. And that's that. It's being done using legitimate API calls, no black magic, nothing whatsoever. And a lot of the antivirus engines just detect it as being a simple packer or a simple AutoHotKey script, and people just ignore that and turn it. It's being detected as a possibly unwanted object, just like simple adware. But again, if you take a look and you try to analyze, to run a couple of antivirus engines on that file, it has really, really low detection rates, really low detection rates, or at least it used to have. It kind of doubled in the last year because I've been trying to promote this more and more, and a lot more people have discovered AutoHotKey malware, and the detection rates have increased more and more. But you can still find stuff like this, which have gathered really low detections. So this is a simple malware. It has a lot of packed files, the AutoHotKey script, a couple of Visual Basic scripts, and a batch file, and an exe. We'll go into that on the next slide. It then unpacks everything, and it dumps all of that data on your hard drive. After dumping it, it uses one of those executables it unpacked, the rar.exe, to decrypt an archive, unrar everything, and install a simple miner. So somebody went really great lengths to do crypto mining on your device. And my best guess that it's another gamer that's trying to just make a few quick bucks off the backs of other guys on the forums, because all of them is specifically looking for an NVIDIA card, so it knows that it's gonna hit jackpot when it infects you. Who knows what a clip banker is? No? Clip banker? Clipboard hijacker? Okay. So these are this is malware that tries to replace the content of your clipboard with something that the attacker controls, be it an URL, a Bitcoin wallet, an account number for your bank, whatever. It just tries to hijack it and trick you into doing stuff that you didn't intend to do. And this specific malware right here was trying to replace the Bitcoin wallet where you would want to send some Bitcoins with his own. Like, who double-checked the Bitcoin address to the guy he was trying to send to, like, ever? I haven't. Show of hands. Oh, tips to you, man. Cheers to that. Most of the people just copy and paste and let it go and call it a day. And I managed to reverse his code a little bit. And as you can see, he had some hard-coded strings for various types of wallets, of crypto wallets. And whenever you'd paste it, he would replace that wallet with his own. And it turns out this is quite a lucrative business, because in 2 months, he made $250 of a Bitcoin. And that was when the Bitcoin was like, I don't know, $20,000? Yeah, almost $20,000. So he kind of hit the jackpot. As you can see, whenever he had some new money coming in, he would just quickly log in, transfer it, and launder all the money and pull out his rubles or whatever. Who knows what this is? Steam has been making you turn real money into worthless bling before Bitcoin existed. That's a skin for Counter-Strike. It doesn't do anything. It's just a skin. It's a virtual bling. And those numbers are no jokes. You're expected to pay $10,000 for having a really cool-looking weapon when you go around and shoot people with that, yeah, with your AK-47. Um, and whenever supply appears for something, people will start to rip you off, basically. So that's what they did. Somebody changed that miner and added something for stealing Steam items. Now imagine you're some kind of average hacker and at one point you get like $10,000 of virtual bling in your account. That's huge. It's really huge. Oops. I don't doubt that Steam really tracks their transactions that well, so you can just hit jackpot and go home after that. But what those guys don't know is that this partner ID right here is tied to their real Steam account. So by doing some kind of black magic, you can reverse it into a Steam ID. Unfortunately, this guy has really good OPSEC. The account was registered really, I don't know, early before he started his operation, and no info could be found about him while using open source intelligence channels. This guy, however, had bad OPSEC. Even though he was in Antarctica, it looks like Antarctica had really good computer connection. He's an avid gamer, and all of those nicknames seem to be tied to him. I guess that if you put your mind to it, you can actually dox the real person and find a lot more info about him, but that's not our job. Our job as researchers is to just point out the obvious flaws and let the authorities handle it. However, there's an even worse offender than him. What's the best place to store your malware? It's GitHub. It doesn't get blocked by anyone, and it rarely gets shut down. So he stored all of those miners on his GitHub account. Now, the problem is that he also used the same handler for his Skype account. So when I started looking him up and digging around the internet, I found his GitHub account. Yeah, with, I don't know, money farm. I like money. I guess everybody likes money. He found the way to success, but he didn't kind of lock his back door. And I also found that he was complaining all over the internet. And please don't take photos for the next slide, because it contains the actual vContakte page of him. I tried to blur out everything, but I'd rather that it was kept privately. He's basically a hacker that complains that other people are ripping him off and hacking him. That's the definition of irony, I guess. And there he is. Mr. I don't know, Wolf. Let's call him like that. All of that info publicly available right from the get-go for everybody. Unfortunately, we can't do anything. Even though we identified the guy, if you want to turn him to the authorities, you just can't do that, unfortunately. You have to let them follow their natural course, yada, 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 yada. But at least we can shame them. Shame on him. What his operation was, he was actually posting, I don't know, files promising free nudes of certain Victoria, I guess, on a lot of file sharing websites that are pretty popular in Russia, like this. He was sharing them on the forums and hoping for people to fall prey to his scam and just disable their antivirus, or the antivirus wouldn't detect that, and install his miner, and you'd be connected to his money farm from now on. Unfortunately, that's about it. I'll be coming with more and interesting research as we go, so that's why I left my Twitter account there. If you have any questions, I'm more than welcome for them. Yeah.
Am I coming to you? Wait up, wait up, wait up.
Thank you for your presentation. At first, you said something about AutoIT.
Yeah.
And when you said about AutoIT and showed us on the slides, there was actually an AutoHotKey script.
Yeah,
I
so
believe.
this is AutoHotKey, what I was telling you about.
So,
AutoHotKey is an offshoot of AutoIT.
okay, so are they really so similar that we can't see the difference, or are they?
The difference between AutoIT and AutoHotKey is that AutoHotKey is completely open source. AutoIT has stopped being open source a while ago. So even though the blob for AutoHotKey gets blacklisted by antivirus engines, you can just recompile it, have different signatures on the file, and you can call it a day. You'll have a clean malware up for you, the grabbing.
Thank you.
Hi. So I have a remark. I'm not sure if I'm right, but you said that AK skin was sold with $12,000.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's a maximum price for Steam items, and I think it's around $400. Or it was
back in the day.
Okay.
Don't think they had that. It might be something new, but I remember when I was playing about 5 years ago or something like that, people were really crazy for getting those knives, you know?
Yeah.
They cost about a few $1,000s or something like that. And they were actually trading them on the black market.
Yes, this is what I know, but the transactions weren't made through Steam because of the maximum amount.
Yeah,
$400.
that's what I said. They would just copy and paste, because through Steam you have to give something back and double check and everything. They would just copy and paste through a proxy, basically, that would use Steam API calls. I don't want to go into more detail. I mean, we can talk about that later if you like.
Okay.
I don't want to bore everybody.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Come on, let's chance. Okay. Coming to you.
Hi. Are you aware of any script that can convert DACI script to AutoHotKey or something similar?
For AutoHotKey? Yeah. There's this guy who wrote a script in AutoHotKey that disassembles AutoHotKey code and extracts the script from there. Yeah.
We have a few more questions. One over here, one in the back. We'll come to you as well.
Thanks. So what's the opinion of the developers of AutoHotKey about the way that their software is used, actually?
Well, what's the opinion of the C++ developers about the way their software is being used? It's a tool, unfortunately. You can't gimp your tool if you want to have followers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, I guess it could have been the same with Python if Python was used for
yeah,
instance.
exactly. It would have been the same.
Yeah.
Cool. Who had a question back there? I thought I saw a hand. Yeah.
Hi, you mentioned that there's nothing we can do about them. We can just shame them, and then we have to leave the countries to take their processes. Do you know how rigid the process is? How many countries you have to notify, and how does it work?
Unfortunately not. I'm not that experienced in legalese, so you would have to take that with somebody else. But I showed that to some kind of deputy general or something like that. He confirmed that the process is quite rigid and it's quite hard to get them. That's why everybody is doing stuff like that.
So it's basically public shaming and that's it.
Yeah. He took down his GitHub account. After I launched my blog post, he took down his GitHub account, so there's that. Let's shame them, yeah. It works.
Can you be honest with us and tell us if you started researching AutoHotKey malware so you can continue playing games while people think you're working?
Shame on you, man. Shame on you.
We have another question to your right.
Could you consider adding some rules, some stuff to not help them to exfiltrate data, like, I don't know, DNS solution, because most of the new stuff are using DNS domain, which could be blacklisted by some of the security solution.
Well, technically, yeah. You should rely on your firewall to block that kind of exfiltration. Unfortunately, you can't blacklist the use of NS lookup, for example. It's not doing any kind of complex API calls inside the Windows or anything like that. It's just invoking a command, and that command is doing what it was supposed to do. Do a DNS request to a certain server. If the server is a CNC server that is being known actively, then I guess the traffic would be blocked. But other than that, you can't do anything. The DNS request might be malformed, so there's that, because you have a long domain name, and yeah, but...
No, I'm talking about DNS secure, and to be sure that the DNS request is hitting the right DNS server, and on that DNS server you have kind of policy to return, to not return the IP address that he's looking for.
No. So the DNS exfiltration goes like this. You have a malicious server, right? And you write your own piece of malware that sends DNS requests to your domain, DNS packets manually to your domain, to your server. You don't go through the usual DNS servers.
Okay, maybe you can pick this up after
we'll
the
pick it up
presentation
after
as
that.
well. We have another question there. Stefan, to your back, look back.
Sorry, you show us 2 or 3 times that antivirus cannot find this traffic or all of this. It's so hard to change because we know we have a lot of good antivirus.
I didn't say that it was not detecting it. It had a fairly low detection rate. And that's for simple stuff like droppers and packers and stuff that doesn't have any malicious actions from the get-go. Detection rates have increased dramatically over the last year. So from like 20 to 30% of the AV engines detecting that kind of malware back at the start of 2018, it has jumped to about 60%. So I guess it's getting better and better.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one last question. If anyone has one last question for Gabriel. There we go, Stefan.
So considering you actually talked about skids or cheaters using this kind of malware, they are pretty much, they get themselves back. Should we feel bad about this kind of persons? I mean, following the logic of talk shit, get hit, should we actually feel bad for bad people getting malware like this?
Well, actually, I don't feel bad. It all depends on your personal opinion. They could use an antivirus, you know, and they would be protected, at least right now.
Okay, I guess that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Gabriel, for the awesome presentation.